So today I will be analyzing 3 songs from 陈情令: 不忘, Lan Wangji's character song; 曲尽陈情, Wei Wuxian's character song; and 无机, which is Wangxian's love song. But I have to make it clear that these lyrics are extremely poetic. Everyone can interpret poems in their own way, so these are my own interpretations and they might not be entirely accurate. So before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian themselves. Like, neither of them knew their feelings for each other before Wei Wuxian died. Lan Wangji realized in the 13 years where he had the time to think about everything, while for Wei Wuxian, in the novel, he didn't realize until the Guanyin Temple. But in the drama, I feel like he didn't realize just how important Lan Wangji was to him until the very, very end, the last episode, where they had to separate and then reunite. So anyway, Lan Wangji had 13 years to think back on everything that had happened, and he was just overcome with regrets and guilt the entire time for not trusting Wei Wuxian completely and not standing by his side. So then he really wanted a second chance at everything, and Wei Wuxian came back to life, and he finally had that second chance. Meanwhile, for Wei Wuxian, he was dead for 13 years, so it wasn't like he could reflect or have anything change. So he came back to life thinking that Lan Wangji still hates him. But at the same time, like in the Guanyin Temple, when he had the confrontation with Jiang Chen, he made it clear that, like, for everyone else, it was the same life. They had the same memories and emotional baggage. But for Wei Wuxian, he was dead. He came back to life. So everything that had happened was his past life. And now he's in a new life. He's set everything down and he's moved on. So that's why Wangxian, both of them have such different mindsets. And that's pretty important and very obvious in these character songs. Now let's talk about 不忘, Lan Wangji's song. In the first few lines, it kind of gives us the setting. It makes me imagine Lan Wangji in the Jingshi at night. He's playing his qing and trying to find Wei Wuxian and just reflecting on everything that had happened. The line, "Are you still asking?" so the chorus is really important. He's asking basically what exactly is right and what exactly is wrong. This is something that Wei Wuxian once asked, and it's probably the most important question to Lan Wangji, because he's from the Lan sect. He was raised to follow all of these rules, and he was so sure that he knew what was right and what was wrong. But now suddenly he met Wei Wuxian, and he's just questioning everything. Like, is Wei Wuxian evil for doing demonic cultivation, and are the others good just because they do mainstream cultivation, even though they kill so many innocent people? Or like, is Wei Wuxian good for saving people, or is he bad because he's going against everyone in order to save the Wen clan? So these conflicting sides are also what made Lan Wangji stay neutral back then and not fully stand up for Wei Wuxian. But in the end, you see that the lyrics change and his mindset changes as well. Like, after Wei Wuxian came back to life, Lan Wangji, he doesn't ask anymore. He still doesn't understand like how other people decide what is right or wrong, but it doesn't matter to him because now he knows, he understands and trusts Wei Wuxian completely, and so he'll just stand up for Wei Wuxian, take his side no matter what. And he really shows this in all of his protective behavior after Wei Wuxian came back. He also mentions the vow that they made together when they were kids to help the poor and get rid of evils and fight for justice and all of that. And this is also why he gained the reputation of appearing whenever there's a crisis, because he tried so hard to keep that vow. And also because he thinks that if Wei Wuxian is alive and he's also keeping this vow, then they might be able to meet each other again at one of these crises. Finally, I really, really like the last line, but it's really hard to translate. Like, literally, it's like you finally meet a friend that you haven't seen in a long time and you're like, oh, you haven't changed since we parted, you're still doing well. But I feel like it's also Lan Wangji thinking, after everything that has happened, Wei Wuxian is still the same person as before, and it just gives closure because Lan Wangji was given a second chance to get over his guilt and finally be able to protect the person that he loves. Move on to 曲尽陈情. This song is honestly such a perfect portrayal of Wei Wuxian, the character. Like, first, the melody is really light and kind of cheerful, but if you pay attention, it's actually bittersweet. And the lyrics are really nonchalant, but that just makes everything sadder to me. It's like Wei Wuxian saying, "Oh, I'm scared of dogs because I was homeless as a child and I had to fight dogs for food." And he makes it sound like it's not a big deal. But then it just makes your heart hurt because you wonder how much he had to go through in order to talk about these traumatic events calmly, and how strong he is to have gone through and survived all of that. And now looking at the first few lines of the song, so Wang is set in the Jingshi, while 曲尽陈情, it starts with Wei Wuxian on a boat. And it just shows that he has a wandering and free soul, but also that he doesn't really have a place that he can call home. And this song is mostly about him thinking back to his past life, all the good things and bad things that happened, but it also shows his attitude towards everything. So if you look at the chorus, you can see that he doesn't care about what anyone says because he knows what is right, and he wants to only do what is right. And like, it has nothing to do with life or death. People turn him into this giant hero or this evil monster, but he really just only wants to help people who need help. It's just that simple. And it makes him sound really naive and idealistic. Like, if he just taken a step back and never night, or even just tried to get people's sympathy instead of standing up for himself and arguing with people and making them angry, then he might not have had such a tragic end. But he just refuses to compromise because that's how he is. And that's also what made Lan Wangji appreciate and respect and love him. And the last line, "The past will leave its mark," it's quite bittersweet, like the entire song. So everything that has happened will leave something behind. It also it reminds me of the scar that they both had. Wei Wuxian's scar and Lan Wangji's scar on his chest, and all of the whip marks on his back. They're all like reminders of what had happened before, and it doesn't let them forget. Now finally, let's talk about Wuji, which is Wangxian's love song. But even though it's a love song and Wangxian are obviously in love with each other, I feel like lovers are at this one level and then they're at some higher level. Like, they're soulmates who completely, entirely trust and understand and support each other, and that's not something that regular lovers have. So this song isn't really about love. One thing that I found interesting was in the first verse, Wang Yibo, aka Lan Wangji, sings about like, how can I just treat it as a dream after waking? But Xiao Zhan, aka Wei Wuxian, in the second verse he sings just treat it as a dream. So it's like what I said before. This was just one life for Lan Wangji. He just thinks that this is one life and he can't forget what had happened. He can't just make it as a dream. But for Wei Wuxian, he suddenly woke up one day and he's alive again, and he thinks that everything, he can just treat it as a dream. It doesn't matter anymore. In the chorus, or right before that, again, they mention like, how does one measure slanders and praises, gains and losses, what is right and wrong, all of this. It's the overall theme of Modao Zushi, the novel, and Chen Qing, the drama, and it's also just really philosophical and important in real life as well. The line, blood is hot and blade is cold. Both of them were really hot-blooded. They were willing to risk everything for an ideal, something that they believed was correct. But the blade is cold. The world is really merciless and just cut them down like that. The first line of the chorus is really creative, in my opinion, because it's like you're preparing this pot of everything in life, all the good and bad things, to commemorate the youth. And like, the moon still shines, so there is no need to mourn. That just shows their attitude, which continues in the following lines. The first chorus, they use the word 潇洒, like to face the storm in this 潇洒 way, and in the following choruses, they change 潇洒 to 坦荡. Both of these really just capture how Wangxian are, but they're really hard to translate in English. So 潇洒 is like you're confident and you don't care what people say. You just go on freely and easily, and just like not caring about other people. While 坦荡 is like you know what you're doing is right, so you can go on and face everything without a guilty conscience. Like you won't feel bad and you won't feel scared because you know what you're doing is right, and you just face everything directly. So I feel like if you want to describe 蓝忘机魏无羡, you would just use 潇洒 and 坦荡. And finally, of course, the last line, like sharing a song with you to the end of the world. Like wherever they go now, they will be together, and it's just like they will be together doing what they believe is correct, and just finally having a happy ending.